Okay.
We go.
Ooh,
So, so hi,
there we
Lions.
go.
Today we have Abigail Falanga, but you can see her name is Nixandra Storm. So tell us of why your name is Nixandra Storm.
That's just the name of my phone.
I love it. I love it. So Abigail is an author, and I've known Abigail quite a few years. She's whoa, till we're having a storm here. Look at that go.
Oh, wow.
She, I'm gonna let you tell a little bit about yourself. I think you'd be better at that than I would.
Yeah, I'm from New Mexico, and it's called the Land of Enchantment, which seems incredibly appropriate because I write fantasy and science fiction, and I love to create enchantment and magic wherever I go. And yeah, I guess I never know how to introduce myself properly on these things. So yeah, I guess some of my hobbies include things like sewing and cooking and stuff like that, and occasionally getting lost with my dogs in arroyos, which is fun.
Yeah, as long as it's not raining somewhere.
But yeah, that's when you avoid the arroyos. Yes.
Definitely. Definitely. So, do you have any published books that our audience could pick up somewhere? Where did they
Yes, I
find
do.
you in Word?
Let me see. Do I actually? I don't have anything right now, but yeah. So I have a novel out, which is called A Time of Mourning and Dancing. It's a fantasy retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses, but if you don't know the story, that's fine. I know people who have really enjoyed the book, even though they're not familiar with the original fairy tale. Um, and I also have a couple of anthologies out with my sister Sarah. They're the Whitstead anthologies about a small town in England around, kind of Dickensian feel, but there are fairies and magic and angels and dragons and the occasional ghost or zombie and maybe just maybe a visiting alien or two. So it's a really fun collection of stories. Those are the Whitstead anthologies, Whitstead Christmastide and Whitstead Harvesttide, and they're available on Amazon and wherever you get ebooks.
Oh, nice, nice. So, what are you working on right now? Can I ask?
Well, my current project is an epic fantasy, a portal fantasy about a young woman and her two brothers who they used to imagine a world when they were kids, but she no longer believes in it, and then her brothers drag her into it as adults, and it turns into an epic adventure involving war and enchantment and a lot of really deep themes of finding meaning and learning to be courageous and to take a stand for what matters.
Ah, so you
And
have special messages inside there too.
oh, of course.
Sorry, fighting allergies, so I'll be drinking a lot today. But
Hmm. Me too.
yeah. So the first place I ever saw you wrote was on Havok, the website, HAVOK.
Mhm.
Are you
Yeah.
still submitting stories with them?
Yes, I am. As a matter of fact, I have one that's coming up at the end of May, but I do have to warn everybody, it is a horror story.
Oh,
So it's darker and a little bit more gruesome than normal.
wow. Stepping
But
out.
I also, yeah, I've recently discovered that I really like the horror genre. I think it's an excellent way for Christians to explore that there is darkness in the world, but that the good is better and greater than the darkness. So I've been playing around with the genre a little bit more than I used to, and it's it's really fun. So yeah, and then yeah, after this interview, I will be working on my on editing a couple more stories for Havoc. One of which is a really sweet little story about hedgehogs and a fairy, and the other one is kind of a thriller involving claustrophobia. So
Oh, wow. Wow, that's interesting. So you said you
yeah,
wrote with your sister Sarah. Does Sarah write a lot?
yeah, she does. She's been getting into it more. I need to. Yeah, she's. I've been encouraging her to submit some stories to Havoc also.
Nice, nice.
But the yeah, and I mean she's really good, and she's also much better at coordinating things than I am.
Oh,
So with the Whitstead anthologies, she's very. I mean, we were able to gather a whole bunch of other authors, like more than 20 other authors of fantasy and science fiction
oh,
who have
nice.
contributed some really amazing stories about about this small town of Whitstead. And yeah, it was definitely, this whole experience with Whitstead has been really cool. It's kind of miraculous how it pulls together because all the stories interlock and they're beautifully written. And I know it's touched a lot of people, but yeah, I tend to be better at the editing part, like making sure these stories actually read well. And and Sarah is
Skill to have.
really good. Yeah, but it's like I'm pretty good at that one. Sarah is fantastic at making sure everybody signs their contracts and sends in the stories on time, and she's very good about coordinating that part. So we actually work together very well as co-editors. So that's cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's really great. So am looking for your books here on Amazon, and I'm going to share my screen when I find it so people can see what your books look like and go look it up for themselves where they want to go. Where are some of the other places while I'm doing this? Where are some of the other places that you have flash fiction, or you might have other stories that people can find?
I have I'm in several different anthologies at the moment. So including the let me see. Um, my mind is going blank. The Heights Will Fly Too is an upcoming anthology, which is a lot of poetry, and I actually have a poem. I'm branching out and publishing poetry now, which is kind of exciting, but also terrifying. But yes, I have a poem in that one and a short story. And The Depths Will Go To is another one. It's the companion piece, and it has I have a humorous mermaid story in that one. And another upcoming anthology is Tales from the Tower, which is a collection of Rapunzel retellings,
Oh,
which is, yeah, and I wrote one which is set in space
oh,
with
fun.
a young woman who's traveling all by herself on a shuttle, and she encounters someone handsome and appealing, and learns there's more to her life than she suspected. It is a really cool story. I'm very excited about it. I think it's one of the best I've written. Um,
Good.
yeah, so that one is coming out on May 1st. It's called the Tales from the Tower. Um, and I have another story that's going to be coming out in an anime and manga inspired anthology. So that one's, yeah. I tend to write a lot of fairy tale retellings because they're just so much fun. So that one's going to be a Frog Prince retelling, except with steampunk and ninjas and stuff like
Oh,
that.
fun. Okay, and where can they find these stories at? The retellings?
Tales, yeah, Tales from the Tower and the Ganbata anthology are both coming out this summer. So I'll have the links available on my link tree, which I will send you later on. So
And I'll put that in with all of the introduction of you. So I
Okay.
have your book here on Amazon, and let me share my screen here. So there we have it, A Time of Mourning and Dancing, and I just looked for your name.
Yeah.
Here we have a little bit about you on the side. Time of Mourning Dancing, $2.99 right now. Oh, it's also on Kindle too. Good. We have all formats,
Yeah.
backpacks. That's pretty design. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm very happy with the cover.
Good. Good. So, did you
And
design the cover yourself, or is it one that Amazon
no,
had?
I hired someone to do it,
Oh, good.
and yeah, she's an amazing designer. So it was wonderful working with her. That book is the first in a series that I have planned.
Okay.
I'm a whole bunch of different retellings of fairy tales. Hopefully, I will have one about which is a retelling of the Goose Girl, which
Oh,
is one of my favorite fairy tales. That one I hope will be coming out this year sometime, but I have to write it. So,
okay.
but yeah,
I think what I might do too is go to Havoc and let people see where you are.
yeah, I'll send you the link to the my. I will. Yeah, I'll send you a link to the
All of the places.
yeah, I'll send you a link to all the places. But the Havoc has a you can search for individual authors. You do have to pay a um for if you want to read backstories. I mean, like previous stories that have been published in the past. If
Okay.
you if you but it's like it's about $5 for a year subscription for Havoc, which is definitely worth it because you can just sit there and binge read all of them and they are fantastic.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, and I have over 25 stories on Havoc now.
Okay. And looking at it right now, trying to see where we can. Yeah, they've changed their site a little bit since I was last on here.
Hmm.
Um,
I will send you the link. I just found it, but my computer is so slow. So
okay. So I'm going to share screen again real quick here. So here we are at Havoc, HAVOK, and
that's different. So hold on, let me send you the.
okay.
I'm gonna send it to you on Twitter.
Oh, I don't have that set up on my laptop yet.
Oh,
That's
well,
okay. That's all right. We'll get it in the other information.
yeah, it's a there you go. I sent it to you. That doesn't look quite right. So if you look for gohavoc.com,
Okay.
that will take you to a flash fiction site that has fantasy, science fiction, mystery, comedy. It is a lot of fun, and I really do love writing flash fiction. It's a fantastic way to explore short form stories,
Right.
and I found it very helpful for um, learning to get a point across briefly, which sometimes I struggle with. So it has helped me refine that very well.
Okay. I'm gonna see if I can find you in here. Yeah, Happy was a lot of fun. You introduced me to that, and that's where I started learning about flash fiction and what to do.
Yeah.
Here you are. That
Yeah.
sings. You're a finalist. Oh, look at all of this. Rust Bucket, the Incendiary, Identify Werewolf Next Door. Get a job. The Knife. This is great. This is
Yeah.
great. So there you are. Well, good. Now we found a new place. Maybe some people haven't heard of this before.
Yeah,
But
it is it's a very good place. I enjoy writing for them. And I enjoy working with them. They're really good. They they work with you to refine the story. So the editors will send back suggestions, and then you can have a conversation with them that will allow you to figure out how to make the story stronger.
mhm.
And so yeah, it's been one of the best experiences I've had with editors.
Oh,
So
good. Good. So it's not just submit stories and they'll tell you whether they like it or not. They actually give suggestions and you can
yeah,
interact with them. Oh, that's
hmm
really good. That'd be great for new writers, someone
yeah,
who's never written, young writers. Yeah, to build their skills. And
yeah,
the experience I had on there, I had somebody different with every story I wrote. So you get a lot of variety
hmm
of how people read stories, and I found that was really interesting, kind of eye-opening to me is, you have the same book, but you might have five people who read it very differently. And I'd never thought about that
yeah.
before. So what do you enjoy the most about writing books? What do you get from writing a story?
Hmm. Oh, I don't know. I love story in general. Just the way that story works as to put together the themes and the structures and how it's kind of hard to define. I just love story. So writing a book can be a way of exploring different stories and layering them and seeing how they interact. And that's which is one of the most fun things about my current project, which is it has um, let me see, what was it? I think it's like six point of view characters who
Oh,
all have really cool plots of their own. They have their own adventures and their own struggles and story arcs, and they interact together, of course, and they influence each other. And the way the stories intersect is really cool. And I just love doing that with books. With flash fiction or short stories, you can tell one story alone, but with books, you really can get into the details and the allow the characters to grow and change, and allow those changes to act on the plot, and and of course, exploring the setting and really getting into the world. It's just so much fun.
wow. Wow. So that's a lot of aspects you're working. You've got six characters who have their own
hmm
stories, but they have to interact together. Then you have to do the whole world that they're living in and what's going on with that.
hmm
That's really creative. I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one reason why I love working with fantasy and science fiction, because creating the world and exploring it and creating the characters and getting into them and their history and everything, it really makes the story grow. All the different aspects interact with each other. So you have a character and you're like, why is the character like that? And when you explore why they're like that, then it will give you more plot.
Hmm.
And exploring a setting will give you more characters that are in that setting. And
Wow.
I don't know. There's just so much that goes into it, and it's so fun. I really enjoy it.
So I have a question for you. When you're done with your story, with your book, are you sad to say goodbye to the characters?
Well, you're never really done, are you? I mean,
True author.
I mean, once you finish the first draft, then you have to write the second draft, and then you have to edit it like five or six or seven times, and yeah. Um, but yeah, I guess there are. I mean, with the book that I finished, A Time of Mourning and Dancing, I really love the main character in that. And he is fun, and he's not really going to be a main character in any future books. I mean, I'll have him in short stories, and he'll appear in other of the sequels. But he's basically, I'm done with him, so it is kind of sad to let
Throw
that
him to
one
the
go.
curb now. I've had
Well,
my fun.
not totally throwing him to the curb. It's just now I have to move on to other characters and see what they're up to. And that series has some really cool characters, and I can't wait to get into them. So
That's really exciting.
yeah.
Exciting. Wow. So where do you get your stories from? I mean, how do you what do you draw on to get the characters, to get the images, to get the worlds? Where does that all come from?
Um. Well. Well. It's like a lot of times I am inspired by well, fairy tales. You know, I do a lot of fairy tale retellings, but that's not all I do. You know, I have other ideas too. And one of my biggest sources is probably from my dreams, because I have really vivid, um, detailed, exciting dreams, and they've given me more than one idea for a good novel. So the one I'm working on right now, I don't have a title for it. I'm calling it Belongside right now, but it has a it started with the idea of siblings, adult siblings revisiting the fantasy world of their childhood, except that it's not really fantasy world, it's real. And yeah, so that was a dream, and it's such a good idea that I'm definitely going to, of course, base a novel around it, plus other ideas. But yeah, so and then of course the characters themselves, where they come from, and the way they behave and interact, and the kinds of stories, the kinds of setting they're in. That often gives me a lot of story ideas too, and plot ideas.
You're just a very creative person. Creative
Yeah.
in creative in life, creative in dreams.
Yeah. I mean, I think that everybody can be trained to be creative. You know, everyone has the capacity to create stuff,
Mhm.
and you can hone those skills. And for me, a long time ago, I noticed that my dreams were really cool. So I started noticing them and recording them in journals and seeing, oh, that one would make a good book or whatever. And yeah, so, but it is a skill you can hone. And
Mhm.
I've always been inclined towards noticing story in the world. You know, ever since I was a child, I was noticing a story, and really honing it has been a lifelong passion.
Nice, nice. So this isn't something that you just decided to do one day. It's part of who you are from the very beginning,
Mm,
it sounds like.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. You're following your gift. No, uh, not to take away from you, but what about Sarah? Is this something she's always wanted to do, or how did
Well, I
you
don't
get?
know. I think all my siblings have always loved telling each other stories, and
Oh,
reading books and talking stuff over, and everybody's like, everybody's the writer.
nice.
And yeah. So
Us,
I've been pursuing it, but I think that everybody else definitely has a skill.
that's it's really good to
Yeah.
be in that environment because I think
Hmm.
when you have similar minds together, creative minds together, you just kind of draw on each other, and it just starts. It's like having a really good stew. Everything just kind of melts together, and you can draw on each
Hmm.
other and go back and forth.
Definitely.
So you have your
Yeah.
own kind of little inkling crowd at home.
Yeah. Yeah. You can talk over things, and I brainstorm with my sister Hannah all the time. And she's
Okay.
very good at bouncing ideas off of, and
Oh, good. Good.
yeah.
That's wonderful. kind of watching my time here. We have a few more minutes. So I will get the information from you, from all
Yeah.
the links where you can be found, and we'll put that on here too. So what about somebody who's thinking about writing, who maybe has wanted to write, but is kind of afraid or hasn't really made the time to do it? Do you have advice for someone who hasn't started? And then maybe we'll have advice for some who've already been writing.
For somebody who wants to start, I think you know, a big part of it is just starting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for me, I write best when I have an idea of the story before I actually start writing it, if I know where it's going. But that isn't for everybody. And it's whatever way you approach the story, find a character that interests you and just start writing about it. Personally, for me, I was able to hone my craft by writing novel length stories rather than writing short stories. And I think that allowed me to stretch and grow. And I know that that's not it for everybody, because some people really do write best short, but it is it's okay to just put your thoughts and observations and the words that are in your heart and your mind on the paper, and that will get you going. It'll turn on the faucet, and then you can decide what to do with the water afterwards. And yeah.
That's very good advice. I always hear when I've gone to writing classes, they all say first thing to do, just start writing. But I like how you put it, is take your thoughts and the feelings you have for it and just put it down on paper, and then maybe from there you can create the story, or maybe it'll just start creating itself once you start putting it down. Yeah. Now, do you schedule time to write? I know a lot of people have to schedule time. Some people write 15 minutes. They're sitting in their car after work. They take that 15 minutes. That's where they write before they go in the house. Some of it do it at night after everybody's to bed. How do you schedule your time to write?
Well, I am at my most creative in the later afternoon. So I always try to write around, 3 o'clock until 5 o'clock ish, or whatever I can fit in. And yeah, that's my most creative time. And a lot of people recommend writing in the morning because you can actually get a lot more done.
Hmm.
That doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
I can't write before noon. I've tried. It doesn't work. So it's like it is okay to experiment and find the time that's best. And yeah, I tend to work better in larger chunks,
Mhm.
but also um, setting timers, or the using the Pomodoro method, which is you have a 15-minute timer, and then you take a break, and then 15 minutes, and then take a break, and then 15 minutes, and then take a long break. That can work really well too, because it gets you going. And
That's a good idea. I had never heard about that before.
yeah, it's really interesting. So it's a Pomodoro, and yeah, it's a clever way of doing things. Or there's also, for me, because I struggle with maintaining my focus, especially at first, what I've found is somebody recommended the Forest app, which is you get on there, you plant a tree, animated style, little tree, however long, and it will grow, you know, cute little tree growing on your screen, which will keep you from checking your phone, which I need. And at the end of the time, you have a cute little tree to add to your forest. And I found that really helps.
Oh, that's neat. Forest app. I like that. Okay,
Yeah.
so for someone who's been writing, maybe they're getting a little burned out or they can't find a new character. What kind of advice would you give them? Or maybe
Hmm.
they've just been writing and writing and writing, and they're just tired of it. Um, I doubt if that's happened to you, but
Well, when it happens, I usually forget about writing for a while and then start working on something else, which is a bad habit of mine. But I'm not always that great about finishing stuff. But well, I think that the one of the best things I've found is trying a different genre or a different medium. Um, so, like, if you've been writing a novel for a long time, trying a short story is actually really good exercise. And like I was saying, I got into flash fiction writing only in the last 3 years or so, and it has done a lot for me creatively. It really helps me to hone my my skills a, a lot. Also, you can try that one, or you could try flash fiction. No, I already said that. Sorry. Poetry. Poetry can be fun because it challenges you to think outside of the box with word choices and imagery, and that's a really great way to break out of a rut and to level up your skills. Um, and or of course different genre, like trying to write romance when you usually write thrillers or whatever. Um,
Thriller
yeah, and as for
romance.
finding yeah, as for finding new character ideas and stuff, what I've been discovering over the last couple months, I think, with the working on this book, is that I'm finding some really interesting inspiration just watching TV or movies. Sometimes you can look at somebody or a character and say, "Oh, I love the way that character interacts with the other character," and or "I love that aspect of this character. Maybe I can incorporate that somewhere in my book or in my story." And that is a really fun way of coming up with a character that you might not otherwise come up with on your own. They can become a little bit different, and which is fun and more of a challenge.
Yes. Yes. Wow. Well, I think our time is getting pretty close here. So if uh, besides Amazon, is there anywhere else they can find you if people have questions or would like to know more about your writing? Or is it pretty much, you're not really ready to get into that part yet?
Well, no, I'm on Facebook. I have a page. If you look for Abigail Falanga author, that's I tend to post a lot there, so that's a really good place to connect with me. And I'm also on Instagram, where I share a lot of my stuff about my projects and the books I'm reading and stuff like that. So that either place would be really good to connect with me. And I'm working on getting my website set up, but yeah,
Awesome.
it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
But yeah,
They are.
I'll send you a something with all the links on it.
Okay, that sounds great. Well, Abigail, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me. I enjoy visiting with you and talking about writing with you. You just have this great mind on you. And interesting, I think of Sarah as baking and cooking because she's so good at that. I didn't realize she was into the stories with you, and I'm glad to hear that Hannah's doing some stuff too. So that's interesting. When next time I come down there, it'll be good to see you and your family again. But
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. Given a lot of great information to people who are thinking about writing or who just really want to read your books and find all the different places where they can read, short stories and flash fiction and that kind of thing. So
Yeah, it was really good talking with you.
any last closing thoughts for people that you want to share? Put you on the spot there.
Yeah. uh, I guess never be afraid to push your stories and your writing a little bit further than you think that it's going to go. Never be, always explore different avenues and different ideas and let your characters grow and talk to you because you never know what you'll discover and how much depth you'll find in your stories. And
Awesome.
yeah,
Good advice.
that,
Okay, well, thank you. Okay, Lions, we'll see you next time.